Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Harmonious World. My name is Hilary Seabrook and I'm delighted to be joined again by Chris Newstead from the Watford Jazz Junction Festival. What you're listening to right now is Chunky But Funky, which features the vibes of the marvellous Orphee Robinson, who you will hear more of in my conversation with Chris Newstead. And I hope you enjoy listening. Welcome, Chris Newstead from Watford Jazz Junction Festival to Harmonious World.
Well, thanks very much, Hilary. And it's lovely to be back. I'm a repeat offender.
Absolutely. Not many people get invited for a second time. So you've got the 2025 version of the festival coming out in May. What have you got planned?
What don't we have planned, Hilary? No, it's super exciting. I think anyone who runs a festival or goes to festivals regularly, certainly independent ones, know it's there's a little bit of precariousness around whether or not it will happen again. There's an awful lot of funding and things involved in trying to get it to swing into operation. But hurrah, we are there. And I must give a big shout out to the Arts Council for supporting us once again, and all of our other funders. 2025. So we've run from the 10th to the 18th of May this year. So it's slightly longer than we've ever done before. So it's 8 days for us to fill and wallow in all things jazz and musical. We normally, and we are again, starting with a gala night, and that's at the Watford Palace Theatre. And this year we are theming it as a soul night, out and out soul. And our headliner is the wonderful Vanessa Haynes. And she will be bringing Watford her Aretha Franklin show, which I was very lucky to see during lockdown, at Ronnie Scott's, and it's the most extraordinary show. And you forget who you may or may not be listening to. It's far from a tribute show, and it's an absolute tour de force, my words, of singing and power and I don't know, magisterial beauty, because Aretha Franklin, I mean, everyone loves her songs and are very familiar with them, but to hear them ever so slightly reinterpreted but sung in such a fresh way that they could have been written yesterday is an absolute joy. And we also got a support act that night, which is fantastic for us. So we're able to support a local artist called Harry T. Pope, and he'll be bringing his 7-piece funk and soul band to the stage as well. So it's not quite a double bill, but you're in for a double treat. And we're just really looking forward to it being a Saturday night and time to let the hair loose and tap the feet to some familiar favourites. But we've got to be up early again the next day. Festival era. The next day we have the return of Ruth Fisher's perennially popular jazz brunch. And this year we're featuring Elaine Del Mar, who lots of people will know. She is proper jazz royalty. Fantastic singer. I don't think she'd mind, but I'll say it quietly. Slightly into her 80s, I think, now. I don't know if that's true, and you didn't hear it here. But the point being, she's still going with the same aplomb, style, presence as ever before. So it's a real treat and opportunity to hear Elaine with her quintet performing. But along with it, Ruth has a very canny way of asking all the important questions and finding out about such an exceptional career that Elaine has had, that's included, musicals and shows across the world, let alone her ongoing passion and love for jazz. So very excited. And that's a brunch show, so it comes as a hot brunch. What better way to start Sunday?
Absolutely. I mean, that sounds like a perfect weekend to me. Saturday night at the Watford Palace, and then Sunday lunch with Ruth and you and everybody else, and Elaine.
And if you're coming to town, you can all come and stay at mine on Saturday night. Fine. I need to review that sort of statement. And then, we've got what I'm calling a takeover, but I guess it might be termed as a venue residency then, from Monday to Saturday. Which must be the 12th to the 17th at the Pump House Theatre, which is part of the Pump House Arts Centre. And that's where the majority of our shows are put on over the year, because obviously we do other things other than just a festival. But obviously we're all about the festival because that's when we really peak. And we've got five standalone concerts during that week and all sorts of other things going on, talks. We've got Watford Writers Group joining us to give reflections on jazz and poetry and all sorts of things. We may or may not have a screening. We may or may not have a special comedy night. But what I can tell you are the five principal artists that we've got running across the week. So on Tuesday, we've got Janet Evra, who's a US-based bass player and vocalist, and she's coming over with her trio from St. Louis. And I don't know if anyone's heard her before, and I'm sure plenty of people have, but she's got the most mellifluous singing style and plays the double bass. And she's joined by her husband on guitar and a drummer. And that is part of a genuine double bill with our very own Ilario Ferrari, who is based in Watford, but cometh from Italy originally. And he has a fantastic trio with Katie Patterson and Charlie Pine. And they put out another album last year. And it's a first opportunity for us in Watford to hear that as part of the festival. And so it's very exciting. We then, on Wednesday night, have got Tim Garland coming to our stage. He first played with us, I think from memory, for a bottle of whiskey, bless him, with the National Youth Jazz Orchestra back in 2022 for our gala show then. And we have promised him a return show as a solo artist, and that's exactly what we've set up. He's joined by Gwilym Simcock.
Yeah.
Plenty of people will know as a pianist and long time collaborator with Pat Metheny. And because they played in the Lighthouse Trio for best part of 20 years with Astor Circus, their understanding is extraordinary, and they're both such amazing improvisers anyway. It will just be a melodic journey, I guess, through their own compositions, but also they're promising some favourites from the jazz canon. Thursday night, talking about returners, we have Mark Kavuma coming back. And he was supporting, he was part of Sultan Stevenson's quartet, again, that we had at one of our early festivals. We haven't had Mark perform with his quintet or quartet. I think it's quintet, but I'll say quartet just to be safe, on that Thursday night. And everyone will know, lots of people, again, will know Mark's work from Banger Factory. And just the sheer volume of outstanding original live jazz that emanates from his horn. And we just can't wait, because we know that sort of starts our weekend a bit early, doesn't it, on a Thursday night? And then it is the weekend. So, as I said, for our gala show at the Palace, we've got a soul theme. For our Friday night at the Pump House, we have a blues theme, which is very much in line with our sort of party vibe that sort of happens, it turns out, as part of the Watford Jazz Junction Festival on the Friday. And so we've given it over to blues, which is a first for us, where we've created Blues Night. And I shall say in brackets, because I don't want to commit until we've confirmed, but I think we might be able to persuade Tony Remy to bring his trio for one half of that show. And we love Tony. I think we first saw him as part of Omar's band a year or two ago in Watford. But he's just such a stellar guitarist. And for those that don't know, he's a superb blues player. But I can't guarantee that, so I shan't. But what I can guarantee is the second or the other act, they'll have equal billing, is Errol Linton. Now, have you heard Errol before, Hilary?
I have heard Errol, yes. He's wonderful.
He's not like the others, is he? He's
so good. Yeah.
So for those that don't know, Errol's a harmonica player and vocalist. Grew up in Brixton, busked, he still lives in Brixton, busked for many years on the underground and whatnot, and has had his breaks, I guess, through hard work and consistency. Blues journalists, the UK over, rightly fate him and his band. I mean, they are a proper, musical force when they're on stage, and we're absolutely thrilled that he's coming. And excitement will emanate. And then we're at our final weekend to bookend it all. On Saturday, we have Alice Sawadsky, fantastic violin player and singer. Alice is one of those rare people, a bit like Wynton Marsalis with classical and jazz back in the day. Alice is as comfortable with classical canon as she is with jazz, but it will be very much jazz and influences of folk that she'll be leading a collaboration with all sorts of famous and special jazz guests joining her for a collective, which I can't and shan't announce yet. But you can trust in the Watford Jazz Junction. You can probably assume that Orphy Robinson will be part of that collective.
Yeah.
For Orphy as the chair of the Watford Jazz Junction these days. And we're just very excited. It's the first time we've had an original collaboration like that. We like to try and fuse bands together and say, oh, you haven't sung with so-and-so before. While you're here, do you want to do a couple of songs? But this is an out-and-out original collective. So we literally can't wait to see those, because in safer creative hands, we cannot place ourselves than with Alice. Splendid that she is. Before I go on to our final day, which is Sunday, the 18th of May, I'll just circle back as well, because we've also got some amazing support acts thrown in there. So then on Wednesday night, joining Tim Garland, or playing before Tim and Gwilym take the stage, we've got Nico Widdowson, a fantastic pianist who played with us last year as part of Fergus Quill's brilliant trio. He's a sort of stride pianist meets modern pianist. You've got to be a very brave piano to allow Nico at your keys, because he just uses every inch of it to make the most extraordinary music and impression. And I guess it's one of the reasons he was the Tina May 2024 award winner from the Worshipful Company of Musicians. I think that was back in November. We're just delighted to be able to welcome him back with the trio in his own right. Then on Thursday night, talking about returners, we've got Oscar Lyons, who you'd have heard here 2 years ago, I think. And he played an afternoon show that at the time, I think we were all bowled over by just how a 17-year-old had such command of his instrument already. He's now studying at the Royal Academy, and he's bringing his quartet to support Mark Kavuma's show that will follow. I know on Oscar's quartet, he's got George Johnson on the tenor sax, who you may or may not be familiar with at the current time, because he was one of the finalists in the BBC Young Jazz Musician of the Year.
Well, then I'll have heard him, but just the name.
You'll have heard him blow, but just haven't put name to play it yet. And yeah, I mean, talk about ones to watch. They are literally just ones to watch, and you just enjoy it. And it's like, I don't know, it might be an age thing, but it's like, how are you doing that at such a youthful age?
Before we go on to Sunday, because I think Sunday is the big thing that I really love the concept of what you do there. That going back over those artists, you've got some amazing. I mean, you've got everybody from Elaine, who is very well known and an established, prestigious artist. Obviously, Orphy will be in and out everywhere, and he's a legend, isn't he, in UK jazz?
He certainly is. He's awfully good at. See what I've done there?
Yeah,
it's not much of a pun. Orphy and Ruth Fisher are just amazing.
Yeah.
They're more than friends, aren't they? They are part of the Watford Jazz Junction. They do what we do in terms of programming, booking, enabling, supporting, and making all the good things work. And Watford is extremely lucky, and Chris Newstead is as part of the Watford Jazz Junction to have their presence and wisdom as part of it all. But we do have legends, you know. I mean, Lisa Haynes is the front woman of Incognito.
Well, absolutely.
Del Mar has been treading the boards for 60 plus years.
Yeah, but then alongside,
you know, these
but alongside all of that, you've got all of these new artists. You've got new people coming up who are, you know, you're giving them that opportunity, and I think it's a really lovely lineup you've got.
Thank you very much. It's incredibly important, I think. We are founded around many things, quality and improving mental well-being being two of them. But one of them is inclusion. And inclusion has to mean people at all different stages of their careers as well as different backgrounds. And it's a real privilege, I think, to be able to present people that maybe you might not have heard yet, or who aren't dominating their own stage in their own name. But it's just a matter of time. You know, we had Aaron Ravitz has played in the past. I mentioned earlier. We've had dozens of different young players, and it's an absolute joy. One other one that I realise I haven't mentioned, which is part of the Saturday night with Alice Owadsky, And another Watford Jazz Junction first. We've got Petra Haller and Tom O'Brien
Oh,
coming to the stage as well. I hate to say, I don't even know if I describe that as a support act. It is a standalone dance show, sort of 45 minutes, improvised jazz dance. I don't know if anyone has seen Petra before, but it's quite something. And we're absolutely thrilled to see it. And it's obviously a really nice segue with the creativity that will follow through Alice's collaboration. So yeah, sort of two for one. I mean, they're
yeah.
sort of two for one deals, aren't they? We've really jammed it in.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So then, of course, you've got Sunday, which I think is a real kind of jazz in the community. Great event. So explain to my listeners what's happening on Sunday. And it's Oxy, isn't it?
It is. It's in
Oxy
Oxley
Hill.
Village, which I mean, all these towns have got their different areas and things. But in Watford, it's slightly confusing because there's two mainline train stations within the town. One is called Watford Junction, not a bad name to name a jazz thing on. And the other one is called Bushy Station, and Bushy is still in Watford. And so, to really confuse people, around that station in Bushy, which you get to before you get to Watford Junction, is an area of Watford called Oxy Village. And it is there that we hold our completely free to attend live community music festival, I guess, which is called Jazz Steps. And it is open to everyone. It is deliberately designed for everyone. It is totally inclusive. And you will meet dozens, hundreds of different people around it, but you'll also hear dozens, nay scores of different bands and music that's put on for everyone to enjoy in all sorts of different spaces and places. One thing I'll just say about community, I think it's going to just be a soft word, but as I've done the Watford Jazz Junction, I've realised what community really means to us, which is pretty much everyone we meet who shows a glimmer of interest or would like to be involved or like to understand or like to hear something that's put on through the Watford Jazz Junction. And you suddenly build this community that's not just friends, not just family. It's people who you might bump into in the pub, in the coffee shop. It's people who are working day in, day out in all the community groups that happen in Watford and all the fantastic charities. It's different local politicians. It's shopkeepers. It's a whole host of people who might do work there, might visit. And therefore being able to build something around community demands that there is really something for everyone. So I call it all sorts for all sorts at the minute because that's what it's about. So I added it up before we came on. I realised we've got 10 stages this year.
Wow.
La, la. Yeah, but we do have a main stage, which is probably the easiest place to start. And that main stage is on a sort of fairly large green area in Oxy Village, usefully called Oxy Green. So you can't forget it. And we will put on three big bands there, not big bands, bigger bands, including the Ten Bells Rag Band, who played the EFG London Jazz Festival back in November. We will then put on Tony Kofi, presenting his Portrait of Cannonball Adderley, a giant in all ways
Yeah.
musically. I mean, that's a show to behold in itself. And then we're going to round off with the City Funk Orchestra, which includes Imani and Mary Pierce, having spoken about Incognito and Vanessa.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just foot tapping, unbridled,
Yeah.
happy joy. I mean, what a way to sort of finish the weekend or potentially start the following week. But as I say, we've got 9 other stages, and across them you're going to find big bands, small bands, old school, new school, funk, soul, ska, bop, straight ahead, you name it. If I can relate it or think about it, conceivably having anything to do with jazz at some point in its evolution, it will be on, and that's a real joy because you're gonna hear professionals, you're gonna hear amateurs, you're gonna hear people somewhere betwixt and between. You'll hear, I mean, whole complete sets. But one of the delights of being able to grow and add more things is we've taken on a hall locally, which is called St Matthew's Church Hall, which is just behind the station. Which, if it rains, is going to be the go-to place. But it's not going to rain. It will all be sunny as usual, baking in 50 degrees of heat. Oh, my, that's bitter. 30 degrees. But yeah, we're going to put on 3 big bands, including the Hearts Big Band and the Easy Street Big Band. But what we will add to that show is a fantastic dance tutor called Alice Brereton. And she will be able to show people different moves that they can learn, very easy ones, and actually have that old school dance vibe going on slightly
Lovely.
on a Sunday afternoon. But the whole thing, you just wander around, you go from pub to pub, find out different things. I think we've got 6 pubs, we've got the Bowls Club as well, we've got the Heath, we've got a stage up there, and we've got an extra stage there that we're going to have, not just sort of pop-up bands, but we're also going to feature 2 primary schools that we're working with across the year, where their young people will be creating an ensemble, and it's not just a choir, which isn't to dismiss just a choir. I don't mean it like that, but they will be singing, but they will also be playing instruments that they've learned, which include, those plastic learner saxophones, which include
Yeah.
xylophones, but they will be improvising. They will have built their knowledge around things like Sea Jam Blues and Watermelon Man and whatnot, but they'll also be playing their own piece. I mean, it's very exciting, and it's terribly good. And the whole thing, I think, sums up what we're about in terms of that community, which is giving everyone the opportunity to participate and to discover, creative outpourings and ways that you can get involved and be part of it. We've got 50 volunteers. We have all sorts of things on sale. We've got a community area with 12 local charities. There's all sorts that goes on. But OVS, at its simplest, it's ice cream, it's a beer, it's beautiful music. And as I say, the sun will shine.
Absolutely. Well, it will. 10th to the 18th of May. I know where I'll be.
Too right. And if you
Yeah.
want tickets to these things, I can only recommend you go to the Watford Jazz Junction website, which very usefully, Hilary, is watfordjazzjunction.com. On there, you will find out all the details about our shows. They go on sale on the 23rd of January, assuming I can get my ducks in a row and I can confirm or not confirm Tony Remy and 1 or 2 others. But you'll find out everything you want there, including all that information about Jazz Steps. And as we lead up to May, you'll also find some early bird discounts available. And also new for this year, my technical majesty knows no end. We have created a premium members area of our website. So actually, if you sign up to become a member of the Watford Jazz Junction, you'll get further fabulous discounts across all of our shows and all sorts of good things and special content and access to bits and pieces that, well, actually, money can buy.
That's fantastic. That's a really nice way of doing it as well, because it means that people that want to really support what you're doing can do so.
It's exactly it. There's nothing cynical about it. We're just trying to find sustainable ways to keep a little bit of money coming in on a monthly basis, but at the same time wanting to give something back to the community, which creates an ongoing enthusiasm and interest, and obviously feedback loops. So for us, it's win-win.
Well, it's fantastic. And it's really good to see you making the most of the sort of technology and the way the media is changing and all of those things, I think it's
Yeah,
brilliant.
I think lockdown threw us all, right?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
we've got to move everything online. But actually realise it's a mixed media economy. And actually, I think that propelled us all forward necessarily to adopt some stuff with a bit more ease around, we might live stream that on Facebook, we might do that. But it can only be part of the bigger thing, because the reason we exist is because we love live music.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean live music can't be captured and watched later, but we want to create as many opportunities for people to be part of something, because it's the audience, as I always say, that are as important as whoever may be on stage, and it is there that the magic is created. You will feel it's part of the audience, but you will also have a unique performance every time.
Yeah.
I kind of guess that's why we do what we do, right?
Right, exactly. One of the things that I found when talking to people during lockdown, because obviously this Harmonious World started as a lockdown project, and one of the things that I found was that the lockdowns brought new realization to artists, to musicians, that they needed the audience as much as the audience needed music, because you can't just sit in your room and play at a blank screen with a microphone and get the same feedback that you get from having an audience.
I couldn't agree more. And I think it's a very special relationship that's created. And I mean, obviously, that crosses theatre. I think the same is true of football. I think the same is true of anything where I think entertainment doesn't do it justice. It's more a case of sharing together in something. And for us, for live music, that to me is all about humanity. I won't go off on too much of a philosophical rant. But it's what gets you up in the morning. It's what the memories that you'll hold and treasure are often going to feature those moments when you look back and think about what was special.
Yeah. Fantastic. That is brilliant. Well, thank you. And I will direct people via the show notes to the the website and, find out more about all of these gigs. And I'll see you there.
Well, I hope so, Hilary. You are welcome at any and all shows, as I hope I've been clear.
Yeah.
And yeah, as I say, thank you to everyone for listening. I know I'm not a standalone musician, but it's a great thing to be able to reach people who are interested in music. And yeah, please support us and maybe see you at a show.
I hope you enjoyed listening to that conversation with Chris Newstead from Watford Jazz Junction Festival. What you're listening to now is Chunky But Funky from Orphy Robinson. Orphy is not only going to appear at Watford Jazz Junction Festival in May, but he's also appearing on Friday the 28th of February at Watford Pump House Theatre in a show called The Vibes Describes, which is a show including guests from the Royal Academy of Music, and the show itself explores the legacies of Bobby Hutcherson, Milt Jackson, Lionel Hampton, Roy Ayers and many more, and that will be a wonderful event. So I'll put the link to that in the show notes, and also check out the membership offer because you can get 10% off 8 tickets, and your monthly fee will help make sure that Watford Jazz Junction Festival keeps going. Please remember you can find reviews of albums and live gigs on the blog hilaryseabrook.blogger.com, and I hope you enjoyed listening to Harmonious World, and do get in touch with any comments you might have. Until the next episode, please share what you're good at. My hashtag is Share Harmony, and I hope you will embrace that too. And thank you for joining me once more, and enjoy Chunky But Funky from Orphy Robinson. Thank you for listening to the latest episode of Harmonious World. My name is Hilary Seabrook, and it's a great delight to bring this series of discussions with musicians and composers and writers and all sorts of people to you. Obviously, there's no point in having a podcast if people aren't listening, and I'm very grateful to my listeners for doing so. Thanks also to Joe English for composing and performing this new theme tune. So wherever you get your podcast, you can leave a review. You can share this with your friends and family, either as a link or on social media and that sort of thing. I'd be really grateful for that. Don't forget that you can subscribe now. There's a link wherever you get your podcasts. So have a great week, and please remember why I started this, which is just to try and make the world a little more harmonious. Thanks for listening to Harmonious World.